The 3-Second Rule: How to Capture Attention Before You Even Speak by Jonathan Reid. Introduction. They say first impressions last a lifetime. In a world flooded with notifications, noise, and endless scrolling, the ability to stand out isn't just a skill, it's survival. The moment you walk into a room, step onto a stage, or even log into a virtual meeting, you are being sized up before a single word leaves your mouth. People decide, often unconsciously, if you're worth their time. The harsh truth? You only get a few seconds to tip the scale in your favor. That's where the 3-second rule comes in. 3 seconds, that's all you have to spark interest, project presence, and communicate authority before you even open your mouth. It's not magic. It's not manipulation. It's a combination of psychology, body language, and energy that makes people lean in instead of tuning out. In these pages, you'll learn how to make those 3 seconds your superpower. Think about the last time you saw someone enter a room and everyone just noticed them. Maybe they weren't the tallest, the loudest, or even the best dressed. But something about them commanded attention. Heads turned. Conversations paused. It wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate mastery of the signals people pick up in an instant. This book is about decoding those signals and learning how to use them ethically and effectively. Over the next chapters, you're going to discover that capturing attention before you speak isn't about being fake. It's not about acting like someone you're not. It's about amplifying your best self so that others can see you clearly, fast. You'll learn how to use posture, microexpressions, eye contact, clothing, timing, and even silence as tools of instant impact. You'll see how subtle changes can transform how people perceive you, not in days or months, but in seconds. Why 3 seconds? Because our brains are wired for snap judgments. Neuroscientists call it thin slicing, the ability to make quick inferences about people based on limited information. Within 50 milliseconds, your brain registers a face. Within 500 milliseconds, you've judged trustworthiness. By 3 seconds, you've formed an impression that can be incredibly hard to undo. Whether you're pitching an idea, going on a date, attending a job interview, or trying to inspire a team, those first moments set the tone for everything that follows. This book will take you on a journey, a practical, hands-on journey. Each of the 10 techniques you'll learn is rooted in research but translated into simple, actionable steps you can practice immediately. You'll start to see results the very next time you interact with someone. By the end of the book, you'll no longer worry about winning people over after the fact. You'll know how to win them over before you even speak. Most people never learn this. They think charisma is something you're born with. They assume presence is for celebrities and politicians. But presence is a skill. Attention is a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned, honed, and perfected. When you master the 3-second rule, you're not just commanding attention, you're setting the stage for everything else you want to communicate. In these chapters, I'll show you how to walk into any room and make people notice you without trying too hard. Use your eyes, hands, and stance to project confidence instantly. Harness micromoments of energy to create magnetic first impressions. Control the silent signals you're sending before you even speak. Shift from invisible to unforgettable in a matter of seconds. The techniques here are not gimmicks. They're grounded in real-world experience, my own, and that of hundreds of professionals I've coached, executives, speakers, students, entrepreneurs, and performers. Every single one of them learned how to command attention. And every single one of them started with the same realization: you don't have to wait to speak to start communicating. If you've ever felt overlooked, ignored, or underestimated, this book is your roadmap. If you've ever wanted to feel in control of the room, not in an arrogant way, but in a quietly powerful way, the 3-second rule will change how you move through the world. By the end of this book, you'll understand the secret that great leaders, captivating speakers, and magnetic personalities all share. And you'll be able to apply it right away, in real time. Because the moment you walk through a door, the clock is already ticking. 3 seconds. That's your window. Let's make every one of them count. Chapter 1. The first technique of the 3-second rule begins before you even leave your seat. It starts with energy. Before anyone notices what you're wearing or how you're standing, they sense something more subtle, the vibe you bring into the room. Humans are astonishingly good at reading emotional states. We've evolved to do it for survival. Without even realizing it, we can tell if someone is confident, nervous, angry, or bored just by the microsignals they give off. The energy you carry is like an invisible introduction, and it speaks louder than your words ever could. Most people prepare for meetings, presentations, or encounters by focusing on their content. They rehearse what they're going to say. They memorize facts. They worry about sounding smart. But they rarely rehearse how they're going to show up. That's a mistake. Because by the time you open your mouth, the room has already decided how it feels about you. The first technique is about shifting your internal state so that you radiate calm, focused confidence the moment you appear. It begins with awareness. Before you enter a room, pause for a moment and scan yourself. What are you feeling right now? Are you tense? Distracted? Rushed? If you carry that inside, it leaks out. Your shoulders tighten. Your breathing quickens. Your eyes dart. People read those signals and conclude, often unconsciously, that you're insecure or unprepared. This doesn't mean you need to be perfect. It means you need to take ownership of your state before you step into the spotlight. One of my clients, a young manager named Claire, used to walk into meetings already thinking about the slides she was about to present. Her brow was furrowed, her arms full of papers, her pace quick. She didn't realize that to everyone else in the room she looked frantic, ungrounded, and a little lost. People tuned her out before she even started. When I asked her to try a different approach, stopping outside the door, taking 2 deep breaths, and rolling her shoulders back, the change was dramatic. She walked in looking centered and composed. The content of her presentation was the same, but the reaction she received was completely different. People leaned in. They trusted her. All because of a shift she made in those crucial first seconds. This is what I call the pre-entry reset. It's deceptively simple. Before you enter any environment where you want to make an impression, a room, a stage, a Zoom call, pause. Breathe slowly. Ground your feet. Drop your shoulders. Inhale confidence, exhale tension. Imagine yourself as already being the kind of person people respect. This visualization primes your brain and nervous system to align your body language with your intention. When you walk in, you're not just another person entering a room. You're someone whose presence people feel. Energy isn't about hype. It's not about pumping yourself up or faking enthusiasm. In fact, overamped energy can repel people. This is about calm, focused alertness, the kind of presence you feel from a leader who doesn't need to shout to be heard. Think of someone who walks in quietly yet instantly commands the room. Their secret is that they've mastered their internal state first. To practice this, try a simple exercise. Before your next important interaction, give yourself exactly 30 seconds. Stand still. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe in for a count of 4, hold for 2, exhale for 6. As you exhale, imagine tension draining from your body. As you inhale, picture yourself rooted, grounded, and ready. Then walk in. Don't rush. Don't apologize for your entrance. Own the space. This micro-ritual creates a signal others can't name but instantly respond to. Another powerful aspect of this technique is eye focus. The moment you walk in, Choose a point in the room slightly above eye level and let your gaze settle there for a second. This stops your eyes from darting nervously and gives an impression of calm scanning. When you make eye contact with individuals after that, do it softly but directly, as though you're genuinely interested, not evaluating. People feel seen rather than judged. This single adjustment can shift the entire mood of your arrival. You may be wondering if this really makes a difference. It does, and quickly. In a study conducted at Princeton University, participants were shown photographs of people's faces for just 100 milliseconds. Their judgments of trustworthiness and competence in that blink of time closely matched the judgments they made when given much longer exposures. In other words, our brains form lasting impressions from minimal cues. Your posture, breathing, facial expression, and gaze are those cues. Get them right, and you control the story being told about you. A useful mental trick is to think of your entrance as a silent headline. Just like a newspaper headline sets the tone for an article, your first 3 seconds set the tone for your interaction. What headline do you want to project? Nervous and unsure? Confident and prepared? Calm but alert? Once you decide on your headline, align your body to it. This simple intention directs your unconscious micro-behaviors, the tiny movements and expressions that others pick up without knowing why. It's also worth noting that this technique works even online. When you log into a video call, you still have a room you're entering. People see your face before you speak. They notice your posture, your background, your expression. A pre-entry reset still matters. Take a breath before you click join. Sit upright. Look into the camera. Smile gently, even if you're nervous. Those 3 seconds shape how your colleagues perceive you through a screen. This first technique may seem small compared to the rest of the book, but it's the foundation. Without it, every other tactic you learn will feel forced. With it, everything else will flow naturally. Because when you walk into a room already grounded, already radiating calm confidence, people instinctively give you their attention. They can't help it. Their brains are wired to notice. By practicing the pre-entry reset and mastering your energy, you're telling the world, I'm here, I'm present, and I'm worth listening to. You haven't said a word yet, but you've already begun the conversation. And that's exactly what the 3-second rule is about, capturing attention before you even speak. Chapter 2. If the first technique was about controlling your inner state before you enter a room, the second is about what people actually see when you arrive. Humans are visual creatures. Before you've spoken a word, the image you project is already shaping their assumptions about your competence, credibility, and authority. This isn't about wearing expensive clothes or trying to look like someone else. It's about aligning your outer appearance with the message you want to send. Think back to the last time you met someone new. Maybe it was at a conference, a networking event, or even a cafe. Before they introduced themselves, your brain had already built a quick profile of them. You noticed their posture, their expression, their style. Without meaning to, you formed an opinion, professional or casual, approachable or distant, confident or hesitant. This isn't superficial, it's biology. Our brains are wired to scan for signals of safety, status, and similarity. Those signals are carried in what you wear, how you hold yourself, and the micro-movements of your body. The second technique of the 3-second rule is about deliberately crafting that first snapshot. I call it visual priming. When you walk in, your clothes, your grooming, your posture, and your expression tell a story. If you don't tell it intentionally, people will write their own version, and it may not be the one you want. Let's start with posture, because it's the frame for everything else. The way you hold your body sends instant cues about your self-perception. If your shoulders are hunched, your head tilted down, your arms clutched around your body, you're broadcasting self-protection. If your chest is open, your shoulders back, your feet planted firmly on the ground, you're broadcasting confidence and availability. You don't have to be tall or muscular to do this. It's about occupying your space instead of collapsing into it. This subtle shift makes others see you as self-assured before you speak. A client of mine named David used to dread networking events. He was intelligent and talented but often went unnoticed. When we reviewed video footage of his entrances, it became obvious why. He tended to slip into rooms quietly, hugging the walls, shoulders rolled forward. His clothes were neutral and his eyes were cast down. To everyone else, he looked like he didn't want to be there. I asked him to try a small change, stand taller, take a slightly slower step, let his arms swing naturally, and lift his gaze just a little higher. The difference was startling. People began greeting him before he even approached them. They assumed he was someone worth knowing. Nothing else had changed, not his skills, not his title, only the way he presented himself in those first 3 seconds. Clothing matters, too, but not in the way many people think. You don't have to wear a suit or designer labels to command attention. You simply need to look intentional. When your appearance looks considered, even if it's casual, it signals self-respect and preparation. Crisp, clean lines. Colors that suit you. Shoes that aren't an afterthought. Small details matter because they tell people how much you value yourself, and by extension, how much you value them. When you appear as if you've made an effort, people instinctively make an effort back. The key is congruence. Your appearance should match your environment and your message. If you're an artist giving a talk at a gallery, dressing with a creative edge reinforces your credibility. If you're pitching investors, dressing with quiet professionalism signals seriousness. It's not about conformity, it's about alignment. People are quick to pick up on inconsistencies between what they see and what you later say. When your outer image supports your words, you become believable before you even speak. Another powerful part of visual priming is your face, specifically, your expression. Many people walk into a room with a neutral or even tense face. Their brow is furrowed from concentration, their lips pressed together. This reads as unapproachable. A soft, genuine microsmile can change everything. It doesn't need to be a grin. It's a subtle upward turn of the lips combined with relaxed eyes. It signals warmth, confidence, and openness simultaneously. Studies in social psychology show that people who display this kind of low-intensity positive expression are rated as more competent and trustworthy, even when the observers don't realize why. Timing also plays a role. When you enter a room, don't rush to your seat or bury yourself in your phone. Pause for a moment. Allow people to see you. This short pause, combined with open posture and a composed expression, makes your entrance feel intentional rather than accidental. You're telling the room, without words, I belong here. This is especially effective in high-stakes environments like interviews or presentations. You may worry that focusing on your appearance is shallow. It's not. It's respectful. By taking care with how you present yourself, you're making it easier for others to see the value you bring. You're removing unnecessary distractions or doubts. You're setting the stage for your ideas to be heard. People may say they value substance over style, but style is what earns you the right to share your substance. Without it, you risk being overlooked. Practicing this second technique takes awareness and experimentation. Start by observing yourself. The next time you prepare for an event or meeting, look in a mirror and check 3 things: your posture, your expression, and your overall presentation. Ask yourself, if someone saw me for 3 seconds right now, what headline would they write? If it doesn't match the impression you want to give, adjust until it does. Over time, this becomes automatic. You'll walk in already aligned, already telling the right story. When you combine the first and second techniques, mastering your internal state and deliberately shaping your visual presentation, you create a powerful 1-2 punch. You feel grounded on the inside and look intentional on the outside. People respond to this combination almost instinctively. They may not be able to articulate why you stand out, but they'll feel it. They'll pay attention before you speak. This is the essence of the 3-second rule, controlling what people experience in those fleeting, decisive moments. With practice, these adjustments stop feeling like tricks and start feeling like a natural extension of who you are. You're not performing, you're revealing your best self quickly and clearly. And when you do, the room does the rest of the work for you. By the end of this book, each technique will build on the last, layering your skills until your presence speaks for itself. But for now, start small. Before your next interaction, choose your outfit intentionally, check your posture, soften your expression, and pause at the threshold. Let people see you. Let them decide, in those first 3 seconds, that you're worth their attention. Then, when you open your mouth, they'll already be listening. Chapter 3. If the first technique is about inner state and the second about visual priming, the third is about the invisible bridge between you and everyone else in the room, your eyes. Before you say anything, your gaze is already communicating. It tells people whether you're confident or anxious, trustworthy or evasive, interested or indifferent. Most of us don't think much about our eye contact until we're in a high-pressure moment and suddenly we're either staring too hard or looking everywhere but at the person in front of us. But those first few seconds of eye behavior are some of the most powerful you have. Eye contact is primal. Across cultures, it's one of the fastest ways to establish a connection. Babies who can't yet speak will lock eyes with a parent to feel safe. Leaders across history have used their gaze to hold a crowd. Even animals do it. A dog will read your eyes to know if you're friend or threat. Because of this deep wiring, your eyes are your most potent tool for capturing attention before you speak. The mistake many people make is thinking that strong eye contact means staring. It doesn't. A fixed, unblinking stare feels aggressive or unnerving. What people respond to is engaged eye contact, a soft but steady gaze that moves naturally but doesn't dart around nervously. It's the difference between looking at someone and looking into them. That subtle difference can make an entire room lean toward you without understanding why. Take Olivia, a startup founder I coached. She was brilliant on paper but struggled to make investors believe in her. During her presentations, she'd glance briefly at the audience and then retreat to her slides. The impression she gave was of someone who didn't believe in her own product. We worked on a simple change. When entering the room, pick one friendly face, meet their eyes for a moment, then let her gaze travel slowly to others, pausing long enough to register connection before moving on. The next time she pitched, she didn't change a word of her talk, but people described her as magnetic. The only real difference was in how she used her eyes in those first 3 seconds. Here's why it works. When you make eye contact, your brain and the other person's brain synchronize slightly. Oxytocin levels rise. The mirror neuron system engages. The other person feels a moment of shared presence. This happens incredibly fast. By the time you're about to speak, you've already told their nervous system, I see you, I'm here, I'm safe. That sense of safety makes people receptive to your words. Without it, they're guarded. Practicing this third technique begins before you're in the room. Just as you do your pre-entry reset, prepare your eyes. Take a breath. Relax your face. Imagine warmth behind your eyes, as though you're genuinely curious about whoever you're about to meet. Then, as you enter, lift your gaze to about eye level. Don't scan the floor or the ceiling. Let your eyes land gently on one point or one person for a heartbeat. Smile slightly with your eyes as well as your mouth. Then move your gaze naturally, like a lighthouse beam, touching 2 or 3 others briefly. This gives the impression of calm presence and confidence, even if you're nervous. Another subtle but powerful trick is to widen your peripheral vision. Instead of narrowing your focus, soften it. See the whole room. This signals to your own nervous system that you're safe and in control, which in turn makes your gaze look relaxed rather than darting. Performers and public speakers use this technique all the time to appear calm under pressure. For one-on-one encounters, the same principle applies but on a smaller scale. When you meet someone's eyes, hold the gaze for just a fraction longer than you normally would, not in a creepy way, but enough to show you're fully present. Then glance away briefly before returning. This rhythm feels natural and signals interest. You don't need to say anything yet. Your eyes are already making the introduction. Why does this matter so much? Because people remember how you made them feel before they remember what you said. If your eyes dart around nervously, people feel unsettled. If you stare through them, they feel threatened. But if your eyes are steady and warm, they feel valued. They want to hear you. In the crowded marketplace of attention, that feeling is everything. Some people worry that they can't fake good eye contact because they're shy. But this isn't about faking. It's about training your nervous system. Start small. Practice on friends or strangers in low-stakes situations. When you enter a coffee shop, briefly meet the barista's eyes and smile before ordering. When you pass someone in the hallway, give them a microglance and a nod. Over time, you'll build the reflex so that when you enter an important room, your eyes automatically communicate presence and confidence. One exercise I often recommend is called 3 faces. Before you speak in a meeting or give a talk, pick 3 people spaced across the room. As you begin, look at one, then the next, then the third, letting your eyes linger just long enough to register connection. Even before you speak, this triangulation signals to everyone else that you're aware of the whole room. It also calms you down by anchoring you in real human faces instead of your own nerves. The power of the eyes goes beyond just attention, it shapes memory. Research shows that people are more likely to remember information when the speaker makes eye contact with them. So when you establish this connection in the first 3 seconds, you're not only earning attention but also increasing the impact of what you'll say next. Combine this third technique with the first 2 and you've already built a formidable presence. You've calmed your internal state, aligned your outward appearance, and now you're using your eyes to create instant connection. By the time you open your mouth, the room is not just noticing you, it's ready to receive you. You'll know you've succeeded when people later describe you in intangible terms. There's just something about them. That something is usually eye contact plus energy plus appearance. It's the unspoken language of presence. When you master it, you stop having to work so hard to get people's attention. It arrives with you. The beauty of this skill is that it compounds. Each time you practice, you become more natural at it. Soon, instead of thinking about how to make eye contact, you'll be thinking about your ideas, your audience, your impact, and your eyes will already be doing the work of opening the door for your words. Before we move to the next chapter, try this. In your next interaction, don't speak right away. Walk in, ground yourself, meet someone's eyes softly, let a micro smile appear, and pause for a breath. Feel the shift in the room. That's the third technique in action. You're not saying anything yet, but you're already capturing attention. Chapter 4. By now you've learned how to steady your inner state, shape your outward appearance, and connect instantly through your eyes. The fourth technique builds on all of that but adds something people rarely think about: the way you move. Long before you say a word, the way you walk into a space, the speed of your movements, and how you take up room tell a story about who you are. Movement is a language. In the first 3 seconds, it can either whisper "I'm uncertain" or announce, quietly but clearly, I'm confident and in control. Most of us don't consciously notice our own movement. We rush, shuffle, fidget, or freeze without realizing how it looks to others. But the human brain evolved to read movement instantly. A single glance can tell us if someone is nervous, aggressive, relaxed, or trustworthy. That's why predators in nature move differently from prey, and why we instinctively know which is which. In a modern setting, you're not hunting or being hunted, but the same instinct shapes people's perceptions of you. When you walk into a room, you're sending dozens of micro-messages. Your stride length, your pace, whether you look like you're sneaking in or owning the space, all of it sets a tone. If your movements are jerky, rushed, or hesitant, people pick up on it and mirror your unease. If your movements are deliberate and relaxed, they feel safe and drawn to you. You haven't spoken yet, but your body is already leading the conversation. A simple way to understand this is to think about your arrival as a silent introduction. Before you say hello, your walk says it for you. When I coach executives or speakers, I ask them to practice their entrance. Where do they pause? How do they place their hands? Do they look at the floor or at people? The difference between someone who drifts in and someone who arrives is profound. People respond to arrival. They barely notice drift. Take Marco, a senior engineer who was promoted to lead big presentations for his company. He was brilliant technically but had a habit of sliding into rooms quietly, clutching his laptop, and immediately sitting down. His voice and ideas were solid, but by the time he spoke, no one was paying much attention. We worked on his movement. Instead of sliding in, he practiced entering at a measured pace, shoulders relaxed, laptop under one arm rather than clutched like a shield. He would pause just inside the room, lift his head, and scan slowly before sitting. Within weeks, colleagues described him as commanding and executive. Nothing in his knowledge had changed, only his entrance. Here's the principle: slow is strong. When you move at a slightly slower pace than those around you, you signal calm authority. This doesn't mean dragging your feet. It means not rushing. Rushing signals you're following someone else's agenda. A composed pace signals you're in control of your own. Watch any world leader or high-level performer as they take the stage. They almost always move slightly slower than the crowd expects. That's not an accident. It's presence translated into motion. Another part of movement is how you claim your space. People who feel insecure often make themselves smaller without realizing it, crossing arms, tucking in elbows, shrinking their posture. People who feel confident allow their gestures to open slightly. They don't sprawl, but they don't compress either. When you walk in, let your arms hang naturally. If you carry something, do it in a way that leaves at least one hand free. This signals you're not hiding. Gestures matter, too. Fidgeting with your phone, adjusting your clothes repeatedly, or glancing at the door sends micro-signals of discomfort. Before entering, put your phone away. If you need to adjust something, do it outside the room. Then walk in free-handed, ready. These tiny choices combine into an impression of poise. One of the best exercises for practicing this is to rehearse entrances the way actors do. Pick a doorway at home. Stand outside it. Breathe, relax your shoulders, feel your feet on the ground. Then enter at a slow, steady pace, eyes lifted, arms relaxed. Pause for a beat inside the room before moving to your destination. Notice how different you feel compared to rushing straight in. That pause is powerful. It gives people time to register you, and it gives you time to own the space. You can also use anchoring movement. When you enter, instead of heading immediately to the farthest seat, take a moment to anchor yourself somewhere, a spot where you can stand, look around, and make eye contact before sitting. This doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as pausing next to a chair or at the edge of a table. That anchor tells people, I'm present and aware, rather than I'm sneaking in unnoticed. Movement matters online, too. Even on video calls, how you enter the frame, sitting already present, looking into the camera, not fumbling with settings, creates a sense of readiness. People see you before they hear you. If you appear calm and steady in those first seconds, the whole meeting feels different. Some people worry that practicing movement will make them feel fake. But think about any skill you've learned: driving, typing, even speaking. At first it feels awkward. Then it becomes second nature. Once you've practiced moving with presence, you won't think about it. You'll just arrive that way. The payoff is enormous. People start treating you like the confident, competent person you actually are. The deeper reason movement works is that it influences not only how others see you but also how you feel. Psychologists call this embodied cognition. When you adopt the physical stance of confidence, slower pace, upright posture, open gestures, your brain starts to feel more confident, too. That shift happens quickly, sometimes within seconds. So in practicing the fourth technique, you're not only shaping perception, you're also shaping your own state to match it. When you combine movement with the first three techniques, you create a cascade. You calm yourself internally, dress intentionally, connect through your eyes, and then move like someone who belongs. By the time you speak, the audience is already aligned with you. You're not fighting for attention, you've earned it without a word. Try this before your next important encounter. As you approach the room, slow your pace just slightly. Roll your shoulders back. Put your phone away. Breathe. As you cross the threshold, pause for 1 second. Lift your eyes, scan the room, and smile gently. Then continue at your chosen pace. That 1 second pause, combined with deliberate movement, will change how people experience you. They won't know why, but they'll feel it. This is the fourth technique of the 3-second rule, mastering your movement. It's subtle, but it's one of the most powerful ways to capture attention before you even speak. You're not announcing yourself, you're arriving. And arrival, done well, is unforgettable. Chapter 5. Think of the last time you met someone who instantly felt trustworthy. You didn't know their background, you hadn't heard them speak yet, but in a few seconds you sensed that they were safe, credible, and someone worth listening to. That wasn't an accident. The subtle cues they gave off, the way they stood, their calm expression, their steady eye contact, triggered an almost automatic response in your brain. This is the essence of credibility priming, and it's one of the most powerful ways to capture attention before you open your mouth. Credibility priming begins long before your first words. When you enter a room, people make judgments about your competence and reliability based on posture, grooming, and micro-behaviors. A slightly lifted chin, an unhurried pace, and purposeful movements all send a message of calm authority. People are naturally drawn to those who appear in control of themselves, because it signals that they're also likely in control of the situation. Another key element is micro-expression discipline. Most of us unconsciously telegraph nervousness or impatience through tiny flickers in our face. Learning to keep a neutral but pleasant baseline expression, not a fixed smile, but a soft readiness, prevents you from leaking signals of anxiety. When your expression stays consistent, observers' brains relax and tag you as stable. Clothing also matters, but not in the superficial sense of dressing up. What truly builds instant credibility is congruence, your appearance matching your message. A software founder in a hoodie can project credibility to investors if everything about him or her signals competence and focus. A financial advisor in a clean, well-fitted suit sends the right cue to clients. The brain notices coherence and rewards it with trust. Then there's spatial behavior. Standing too close or too far creates tension. Credibility shows when you respect personal space while still holding your ground. It's subtle, entering a conversation at a comfortable angle, not head-on, turning your torso slightly toward the group rather than away. planting your feet evenly rather than shifting. All these details speak loudly without a word. Another powerful tactic is pre-engagement. Before you even begin speaking, acknowledge the people around you with micro-gestures, a small nod, brief eye contact, or a slow exhale that shows you're present. This primes them to expect a composed communicator. It also has a self-calming effect, lowering your adrenaline and steadying your voice when you finally speak. People often underestimate the importance of pre-speech breathing. Shallow, fast breaths make you look tense. A slow inhale through the nose, a brief pause, and a smooth exhale through the mouth gives you a subtle aura of calm readiness. Observers pick up on this rhythm unconsciously. It sets a tone of confidence. Of course, credibility priming isn't about faking. It's about aligning your internal state with the impression you want to give. That means practicing self-talk before entering a room. I'm prepared. I have value to share. I'm calm. Your body language naturally follows your internal script. Over time, the habits become automatic and authentic. When you combine posture, micro-expression control, congruent appearance, spatial respect, and calm breathing, you project quiet authority. In 3 seconds or less, people's brains slot you into the category of someone worth listening to. That's the opening you need. Once you speak, they're already primed to believe you, because they've already decided you're credible. This chapter isn't about dressing up or acting like someone else. It's about the deliberate cultivation of subtle cues that speak louder than your words. Practice them in low-stakes settings, at the coffee shop, in small meetings, with friends. Notice how quickly people's eyes stay on you longer, how they lean slightly toward you, how conversations flow more smoothly. That's credibility priming in action, and it's a cornerstone of the 3-second rule. Chapter 6. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to own a room without trying? They walk in, and suddenly the air changes. Conversations pause for a heartbeat. Heads turn. They haven't spoken yet, but everyone knows they're there. That magnetic pull isn't magic, it's presence projection, the art of radiating energy and focus so strongly that others can't help but notice. Presence projection begins with your own attention. Most people walk into a space half distracted, thinking about their phone, their to-do list, or what they'll say. Their focus is inward, and their energy leaks. In contrast, people who command attention direct their awareness outward. The moment they enter, they're scanning the environment, making brief eye contact, noticing details. They're present with the room. That outward focus creates a subtle gravitational field that draws others in. Your body helps project presence too. Imagine you're a lighthouse, not a spotlight. A lighthouse stands tall and steady, sending out a calm beam of attention in all directions. You do the same by holding an upright but relaxed posture, feet planted evenly, shoulders open. When you move deliberately, not stiffly, but with purpose. Tiny hesitations or jittery motions signal uncertainty and scatter your energy. Smooth, intentional gestures broadcast quiet power. Eye contact is another amplifier. Most people think of it as a single skill, look them in the eye, but effective eye contact is dynamic. When you sweep a room with your gaze, pausing for a half second on each person before moving on, you make everyone feel briefly included. You're telling their subconscious, I see you. This isn't a stare down, it's an offering of presence. People instinctively lean toward those who make them feel seen. Breathing patterns support this projection. Quick, shallow breaths shrink your presence, long, even breaths expand it. A simple exercise before you enter a room, inhale deeply, exhale slowly, drop your shoulders, primes your nervous system to broadcast calm strength. Others pick up the rhythm without knowing why. Vocal preparation also plays a role, even before you speak. Humming softly, yawning, or doing a gentle tongue stretch in private loosens your vocal cords. When you finally say your first words, Your voice emerges resonant and steady, matching the aura you've been projecting. People feel the congruence and trust it. Presence projection isn't about being the loudest or most flamboyant person in the room. In fact, some of the most compelling presences are quiet ones. Think of a senior leader who sits silently at a table but somehow anchors the discussion. Their stillness, their attentiveness, their grounded posture tell everyone they matter. That's the level you're aiming for, not showiness, but density. Practicing this skill is surprisingly simple. Start small. When you walk into a cafe, pause at the door for a moment. Take a slow breath. Lift your eyes and really look at the space. Let your shoulders relax and your posture lengthen. As you walk in, keep your steps measured. Notice how people glance up. With repetition, you'll build a habit of entering spaces as though you belong there, because you do. Presence projection, when combined with the earlier techniques you've learned, forms a powerful triad: awareness, intention, and embodiment. Within 3 seconds, you're no longer just someone who walked in. You're the person others orient to. And when you finally begin to speak, you'll find their attention already waiting for you. Chapter 7. Have you ever had someone lean in when you began to speak, even though you hadn't said anything interesting yet? That pull isn't always about your words, it's about the tension you create before your words arrive. In a world of noise, a well-timed pause is like a vacuum. People's minds rush to fill it. This is the pre-speech pause, and it's one of the fastest ways to hook attention. Most of us do the opposite. We rush into speaking as soon as we feel eyes on us, spilling out our words in a stream to cover our nerves. The result? We sound uncertain and give the impression we're not worth listening to. By contrast, people who pause before they speak, even for just 2 or 3 seconds, radiate self-control. The silence tells the audience, I'm not in a hurry. What I'm about to say matters. Their brains prepare for something significant. This technique starts with your breath. As you take your position, at a podium, at a table, in a small circle, stop. Plant your feet. Inhale slowly through your nose. Let the room's noise register. Make brief, calm eye contact with 1 or 2 listeners. Then, instead of blurting your first line, let a heartbeat or 2 pass. That micro moment of silence flips the power dynamic. You're not chasing their attention, they're waiting for you. The pre-speech pause also gives you a gift. It slows your heart rate, steadies your voice, and gives you a second to remember your opening line. That alone can eliminate shaky starts. It's essentially a mental reset button. You can even layer in subtle body language during this pause. A slight forward lean signals engagement. A gentle nod or a relaxed half smile reassures the audience you're calm. Keep your hands visible and still. These cues combined with silence build anticipation instead of awkwardness. At first, the pause will feel uncomfortable. Your inner critic will scream, "Say something now." But if you resist the urge and hold that beat of silence, you'll see the change. People's faces will shift, they'll look up from their phones, the room will seem to get quieter. That's your signal you've captured them. Practice this in everyday interactions. When someone asks you a question, don't answer instantly. Pause, inhale, exhale, then respond. Notice how your words sound more deliberate and how people listen more intently. Over time, the pause becomes second nature. Silence, when used with intention, is not emptiness, it's a frame for your words. It tells listeners you're comfortable enough to wait and confident enough to let the room come to you. In the first 3 seconds of any encounter, that's one of the most powerful impressions you can give. People remember how you made them feel, and nothing feels more compelling than being drawn into a moment of anticipation. Chapter 8. Have you ever seen someone walk into a meeting and, without saying a word, you already knew they were somebody? You didn't know their title, their credentials, or their story, but something about them made you take them seriously. That impression is built on status cues, subtle, nonverbal signals of authority, competence, and value that our brains pick up instantly. Status cues aren't about arrogance or dominance, they're about communicating that you're confident, prepared, and worth listening to. In those first 3 seconds, the human brain is scanning for markers of leadership and safety. Do you look like you can handle yourself? Do you appear to know what you're doing? Are you someone others can align with? Posture is your first status cue. Upright, open, balanced posture says you're grounded. Shoulders rolled slightly back, chin level, feet planted firmly, not rigidly, but like you belong there. Slumped or folded in posture does the opposite, shrinking your perceived presence. Next comes the quality of your movements. High-status people move with economy. They don't fidget or make small, nervous gestures. They move deliberately and smoothly, as though time is on their side. A purposeful step, a measured hand gesture, or even just a slow turn of the head all communicate self-possession. Facial expressions are another cue. You don't need a fixed smile. In fact, over-smiling can look submissive. Instead, aim for a calm, neutral expression with a hint of warmth, like someone who's confident enough not to seek approval, but gracious enough to give it. This signals both authority and approachability, which is a potent mix. Your voice, even before you speak, can carry status cues. Clearing your throat gently, taking a deep breath, or humming softly before entering helps you start with a grounded, resonant tone. When you do speak, let your voice emerge at a steady volume, neither too loud nor too soft. Pauses between sentences reinforce your control over the room. Clothing and grooming are also signals. It's not about wearing expensive clothes but about intentional choices. Your appearance should be congruent with your role and message, neat without being flashy. People subconsciously connect neatness with competence. Then there's the way you claim space. High-status individuals don't sprawl, but they also don't shrink. They stand or sit with enough space around them to move freely, and they orient themselves toward the center of action instead of hiding at the edges. Simply choosing a seat where you're visible or stepping confidently into the middle of a group conversation can elevate how others perceive you. When you layer these cues together, you create an unspoken narrative about yourself. I'm confident. I'm competent. I'm calm. Others' brains fill in the blanks. They'll assume you're credible and worth listening to, even before you open your mouth. This is how you can borrow authority with your behavior until your words confirm it. Practice status cues in low-stakes environments. Stand taller in line at the grocery store. Enter a room without your phone in hand. Make eye contact and hold your gaze a second longer than usual. Move slowly, breathe deeply. Over time, these small adjustments will feel natural and authentic. The beauty of status cues is that they don't just change how others see you, they change how you feel about yourself. As you embody them, your internal state shifts. You become calmer, more focused, more present. And when that happens, you've already won the first 3 seconds, because you've won them inside yourself. Chapter 9. There's a reason a single look can make someone lean forward, while a different look can make them glance away. Our eyes are the fastest channel of communication we have. Long before you open your mouth, your gaze is telling a story. Are you confident? Are you engaged? Are you a leader or a follower? Mastering magnetic eye contact lets you speak volumes in the first 3 seconds. Most people either avoid eye contact or overdo it. Avoidance signals insecurity or disinterest. Overdoing it feels aggressive or creepy. The sweet spot is a gaze that's steady but warm, deliberate but relaxed. It's an invitation, not a challenge. The technique starts with intent. Before you enter a room or approach someone, Decide what your eyes are going to say. I'm glad to be here. I see you. I'm confident but approachable. That internal script shapes your micro-expressions and the quality of your gaze. When you meet someone's eyes, hold it just a beat longer than you normally would, a second or two, then gently shift away. That tiny extension makes the moment feel more meaningful. Pair it with a micro-smile or a small nod, and you've instantly built a bridge of attention. Another key is the soft focus. Rather than staring at one point like a laser, let your eyes relax and take in the whole scene. This widens your peripheral vision and calms your nervous system, which in turn makes your gaze more inviting. People can feel when your eyes are soft rather than sharp. If you're addressing a group, sweep your eyes across the audience slowly, pausing briefly on different individuals. This creates the illusion of one-on-one contact with many people at once. Each person feels like you've included them, and their brains reward you with more attention. Blinking and head movement also matter. Rapid blinking or darting eyes signal nervousness. Slow blinks and smooth movements signal composure. Practice holding your gaze on an object for a few seconds without blinking too quickly, then apply that control with people. For shy or introverted people, magnetic eye contact can feel unnatural at first. Start small. Make eye contact with the cashier when you pay. Hold someone's gaze for a second longer during a casual chat. Build up your tolerance until it feels like a natural extension of your presence. One of the hidden benefits of good eye contact is that it grounds you. When you look at someone deliberately, you anchor yourself in the moment. Your voice steadies, your gestures slow, your mind clears. You stop performing and start connecting. In the first 3 seconds of any encounter, your eyes tell people whether they should invest their attention. By learning to hold that gaze with warmth and steadiness, you invite them into your space before you've said a single word. That's the power of magnetic eye contact, and it's a skill anyone can develop with practice. Chapter 10. By now, you've mastered inner calm, visual priming, eye contact, deliberate movement, credibility cues, presence projection, pauses, status signals, and magnetic gaze. Each technique strengthens the others, but the 10th technique focuses on one of the most overlooked elements, energy pacing. How you carry and modulate your energy in those first 3 seconds determines whether people are drawn in or turned off before you even speak. Energy pacing isn't about being loud or flashy. It's about alignment, making sure your internal energy, your physical presence, and the room's rhythm are synchronized. Walk in too fast or too jittery, and the room feels unsettled. Enter too slow or lethargic, and people assume you lack confidence. The goal is a measured, vibrant energy that signals readiness and control. Start with your breathing. Energy flows with your breath. Slow, deep breaths steady you and create an outward sense of calm vitality. Quick, shallow breaths generate tension and make you appear rushed. Practicing breath control in ordinary moments, before a meeting, in a line, or while walking, helps you internalize a steady rhythm. Next, consider movement rhythm. People unconsciously mirror your energy. Step in sync with a calm, measured pace. Let gestures unfold naturally, with a slight fluidity. Avoid sudden jerks or fidgeting, as these small bursts of tension transmit nervousness to observers. Smooth, intentional energy feels magnetic. Facial energy matters too. A relaxed face with subtle animation communicates presence and engagement. Tiny micro-expressions, a slight eyebrow lift, a micro-smile, transmit warmth and approachability. Overdoing it makes you seem insincere, underdoing it makes you invisible. Find the balance that matches your personality. Voice energy is another dimension. Even before you speak, humming or soft vocal exercises can awaken your resonance. A voice that emerges from a centered, energized body carries authority and warmth. People listen not just to what you say but to the energy your voice conveys. That resonance begins before a single word. Energy pacing also includes anticipation. High-energy individuals often leap into conversation immediately, losing the subtle build of attention. Low-energy individuals drift in, and no one notices. By contrast, someone who modulates energy, entering with calm, then letting their presence gradually ripple outward, captures attention effortlessly. They control the room's perception before uttering a word. Practicing energy pacing starts with awareness. Notice your default energy in social situations. Are you rushing, overcompensating, or withdrawing? Then, deliberately adjust. Walk slower or faster, breathe more deeply, soften your gaze, animate your facial expressions subtly. Observe the impact on those around you. Over time, these adjustments become second nature. Energy pacing compounds the effects of the previous 9 techniques. A calm, aligned energy amplifies eye contact, posture, movement, and presence projection. By mastering it, you become not just someone who is noticed, but someone who draws attention effortlessly, naturally, and consistently. Remember, the 3-second rule isn't a set of tricks. It's a system for aligning your internal state, your physical presence, and your energy with the way people perceive you. Energy pacing is the final piece that ensures your impact is not just seen but felt, making every first impression count. Conclusion. If you followed along through these 10 techniques, you already know something vital. Capturing attention before you speak isn't about flashy words or over-the-top gestures. It's about presence, alignment, and intentionality. It's about what you radiate before your first syllable. The first 3 seconds are a window, small but immensely powerful, where your internal state, your body, and your energy set the stage for every interaction. Think back on the chapters: calming your internal state, priming your appearance, harnessing eye contact, moving deliberately, signaling credibility, projecting presence, pausing strategically, showing status, using magnetic gaze, and pacing your energy. Each technique stands on its own, but the real power comes from combining them. Together, they create a seamless experience where people notice, respect, and listen to you before you even speak. The beauty of the 3-second rule is its universality. You can apply it in boardrooms, coffee shops, networking events, or casual conversations. It doesn't depend on charisma or loudness. It depends on mastery of self and awareness of others. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about amplifying the best version of yourself, the version that naturally commands attention. One key insight is that these first 3 seconds aren't just for others. They affect you, too. By entering a room with calm energy, intentional movement, and confident presence, you anchor yourself. You reduce nervousness, sharpen your focus, and prepare your mind to deliver your message effectively. Capturing attention isn't just external influence, it's self-mastery. So here's the takeaway: in any interaction, pause. Reset. Align your state, your body, your eyes, and your energy. Step in slowly, scan the room, and breathe. Let your presence do the initial work. When you finally speak, the audience isn't just listening, they're already engaged, invested, and receptive. The first 3 seconds may be brief, but they carry more weight than the next 3 minutes or even hours. Master them, and you gain the power to make every conversation, every meeting, every first impression count. That's the essence of the 3-second rule, a subtle, deliberate way to ensure the world sees you, not just your words, but the person behind them. Remember, attention is the gateway to influence, connection, and impact. Control the gateway, and the rest follows naturally. Every time you step into a new space, think of those 3 seconds as your superpower. Harness it, refine it, and watch how people respond before you even speak. Your words are powerful, but your presence is unstoppable.